Hey everyone. So, a new subclass came out just recently, and my friend Nate wanted to talk about it, so I thought I'd jump in and we'll talk about what we can. Alright? So, first let's talk about what this thing is. As you know, Unearthed Arcanas are a bunch of playtest material that Wizards of the Coast release for us to try out. Um, so this one has a Monk Archetype and a Ranger Archetype, which we'll get into as we go. But let's start with this. Nate, you said you had a few things you wanted to address with this. Let's at least get the concepts that you were planning to address.
Okay. Well, there was just one in particular. In addition to going over the new UA subclasses, uh, way of the Ascendant Dragon for the Monk and the Drakewarden for the Ranger, I had an idea. It was a very theoretical idea regarding the implementation of racial class levels as a means of, you know,
Basically, if I understand what you're saying, you want to make these possibly archetypes for dragon monks, like dragonborns? Or do I misunderstand you?
uh, well, the idea doesn't necessarily have anything to do with uh, these two new classes. It was just kind of a subtopic.
So, actually, let's start with that. Let's go into the subtopic. What do you mean by this racial?
Sure. What's it called? How do I put this? So, uh, typically, the way we, fifth edition Dungeons and Dragons in general, a lot of the monsters that are interesting and seem relatively playable have attempted to have been played or adapted into a race by players.
Oh, I see where you're going now.
And generally, uh, just as they are, it's kind of hard with the race system of D&D, where it's essentially cosmetic with very, very small, flavorful details separating one race from another. When carrying things, you count as a larger size. And
I will say not all of those are cosmetic, but
no, no,
yes, they
no,
are
not
compared to
well.
classes very small. As you get
Oh
higher in
yeah,
levels, it's less and less impactful.
class levels is where the real meat and potatoes is. Any race that doesn't take a class, their abilities just from being that race are minimal compared to any member of that race that takes classes, you know. And the fact of the matter is that with monstrous or even just some non-human races, they're just inherently far more powerful, so much so for some of them that just their inherent abilities might be as strong as perhaps taking a level or two or three, or more in a class, depending on how strong it is. Like,
Depending on whether you're going Yuan T, Bugbear, or
yeah, yeah, of course, and that's tough, because it's like, well, do we sacrifice uh, the genuine strength of the creature just to allow people to play it and just make it more of a flavor thing? And I was thinking about it, and I was actually kind of inspired by Overlord because
no.
it's a very detailed
Surprise.
series, and
Nate, inspired by
yeah,
Overlord. Who would have
yeah.
thought?
Well, something I noticed because the creator of that series has stats and a bio for every one of his characters stating what their classes are and the
And
way
they
that
have Lich as one of their classes. I do remember that and stuff like
yeah,
that.
and they all invest some sort of levels in a racial class, which is basically, from what you can see of the characters, it corresponds directly with racial abilities that they have. For
Hmm.
example, if you were to choose a monstrous race and not pick any racial class levels, you could be that race, just aesthetically, but on paper, if you don't invest any levels into that class, it doesn't make sense that you would, be as powerful as or have all the abilities of that race necessarily, just for balance's sake. And
Precisely.
so the
We've in technical means discussed like trying to breed the Thrycreen and like some sort of vampiric race class or vampiric race, and it hasn't. Like the vampire is still in the works because it was just so complicated to try to make it all work.
Yeah, we had multiple different variants of classes, variant races, because we're like, well, the vampire has so many inherent abilities. Maybe we could space it out to, each sub race focusing on a specific ability
Thing,
that the
yeah.
vampire has. When, and keep in mind, this was just kind of a small subtopic because the
This
deal is a D&D 5th edition, the way that the attacks and the creatures' abilities are created and laid out, it is not balanced at all with, any kind of class or any kind of race level mindset. There's, I'm sure with a lot of work and rebalancing, like I'm sure it might be it might be possible for if it was kept in mind in 6th edition, or
but
5.5 or what have you.
yes, so I can actually, if I can put some input, because they tried what you're talking about in 3.5, so I can actually bring some input here. Would
Go for it.
All right.
Yeah.
So there are two variations of how they did these races that were more powerful and at the cost of class. The first, the most well known, is level adjustment. Basically, let's say you want to be a satyr. So a satyr has all these special resistances being a fey creature, these bonuses to
Yeah.
charisma, the ability, I think the flute, you could cast special spells through it and stuff like that. In return for being a satyr, you were always 2 levels lower than the rest of the other players. They had a level adjustment of +2.
Interesting.
Now, that was one way of doing it. They did to come up with another idea that allows you to be a more dwarven dwarf, a more halfling-esque halfling, which was called paragon classes. These were like, these were actual classes that had traits that were a lot like the racial traits. Um, and the prerequisite to take this class, they actually had prerequisite, was just to be of that race. From my understanding, Paragon classes weren't very popular, and I will state there is a way that 5th edition has been trying it. If you look back at in Xanathar's Guide to Everything, notice that there's like 2 or 3 racial feats for the Dragonborn. Like, there's racial feats for every class, or for every race, but the Dragonborn has multiple that can stack.
Yeah.
I think that's what they would have to go for. They would have
Yeah.
to, because 5th edition has certain limitations. The value of 5th edition is its inherently low complexity. The fact that most people, like the reason 5th edition is a super popular TTRPG is the same reason the Wii was a super popular game console, because it was able to appeal to people that aren't normally in the hobby.
Yeah.
So I think the only way they could do it is through variant options, not through classes. And I think feats is their best outlier.
It would be very similar to feats, basically, where you sacrifice a level for, a specific racial enhancement, custom tailored for the race you pick, basically.
I'm
Like,
saying that custom tailored enhancements are the design of feats already,
yeah,
and sacrificing levels leads to other complications due to the tier system and proficiency bonuses scaling with levels in a way that they didn't in 3.5.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, and of course the system, as we mentioned, the system isn't meant for this level of adaptation where because what have you, like, say your character says, I don't know, I want to be a dragon.
Yep, exactly
As
here.
your
Which, when I think about it, this is actually a pretty good example of a class where you are becoming a dragon. Like,
Mhm,
I mean, the very first theme is a breath weapon. The second is wings. The third is an
mhm.
aspect, and then you ascend at 17th level. Maybe monk is
Yeah,
the wrong class for this, but I like the concept.
yeah. It doesn't really. It's kind of just like you had a monk, and you're like, what if you wanted to be a monk, but you wanted to have all the cool features that a dragonborn can possibly have at once?
I'm sure some people online are just like, what if we wanted a monk, except good?
Yeah.
I personally disagree, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that do. I know that Monk and Ranger are usually the two classes people complain about the most.
Yeah, I think they're very specific classes. Not every single campaign is going to necessarily have a stellar place for them, and I think they get left out because of
Yeah.
a couple details and parts of their
The way,
uh,
the simple
design that they
way
kind
I
of
would
run
describe
shy
the
in.
issue with the Monk is that both. So here's the theme: both the Barbarian and the Monk. Barbarian is dependent on rage. Monk is dependent on key points. The difference is the way people have adapted to play. They often do not have more fights than the barbarian has rages, but they very often have longer fights the monk can keep using key for.
Yeah,
I think if
because
you go
you got to
back
use key for pretty much everything. If
precisely,
you want to be effective as a monk, and a rage will last a while.
yeah, rage
You can
lasts the
stretch them
entire
out.
encounter effectively,
Hmm.
and all their abilities just demand that you're in rage. It's not like you have to spend additional uses of rage. You don't have every rage. You have like 2 rage points, which will allow you to, which is how you channel your lightning or how you mark them with ancestral guardian or anything. They just once you're in rage, all of it, the abilities are passive.
Hmm. Gotcha. And just to wrap up, uh, racial class levels. Uh, in the words of our Lord and Savior Gary Gygax, he wrote, and I quote: "There's no reason that players can't be allowed to play as virtually anything, provided they begin relatively weak and work their way up to the top." So, I mean, he had for kind of his battle maps, Dungeons and Dragons style gameplay, the progression, the cooperation that he had in mind creating this game. It seems that in a lot of what he talks about, the strict rules weren't as important to him as getting across, you know, uh, that he wants people to have a good game and to have that ultimate freedom that a tabletop RPG offers. That's what we have over video games and this
Definitely,
and that. Yeah,
yeah.
because we have that flexibility.
If you want any proof of that, I think the most famous quote I heard is the reason a dungeon master rolls a dice is because they like the sound it makes. He was very much the point of the dungeon master is to tell the story, not to be the rules master.
Yeah. If you don't like, if you want something specific to happen, it's like, no, no, no. You
Okay.
play to play the game, definitely.
With that topic being mostly addressed, I definitely would like to get back to that on a future date. Um,
Sure.
let's begin with the Unearthed Arcana. So
Gotcha.
we'll go with the monk, the way of the Ascendant Dragon. Monks who follow the way of the Ascendant Dragon revere the power and grandeur of dragons. They alter their own ki to resonate with draconic might, channeling it to augment their prowess in battle, soar through the air, and to bolster their allies. As a follower of this monastic tradition, you decide how you unlock the power of dragons through your ki. The Ascendant Dragon Origin Tables offers some possibilities. So maybe you honed your abilities by observing the dragon and aligning your ki with their world-altering power. A dragon personally took an active role in shaping your inner energy. You studied at a monastery that traces its teachings back centuries to a single dragon's instruction. You spent long stretches meditating in the region of influence of an ancient dragon's lair, absorbing its ambient magic. You found a scroll written in Draconic that contained inspiring new techniques. After a dream that featured a 5-headed dragonborn, you awoke with altered ki, reflecting the breaths of dragons. That
I just imagine like a greasy wizard pops out of an alley. He's like, "Hey kid, you want free dragon powers?"
yeah, that last one is a little weird.
Yeah, generic backstory. You get these
Yeah.
powers for whatever reason you want these powers.
Oh, the
There's
reason I
dragon
took
powers.
the time to read it through is because Monk, being a dragon disciple, like, to put simply, most of the time I fight as disciple of the dragon, I call it a cultist. That's the monster manual stat block.
Yeah, I didn't know dragons taught kung fu.
Yeah, precisely. I thought this was Forgotten Realms, not Avatar: The Last Airbender. We're not teaching firebenders here.
I mean, we do have a way of the 4 elements already.
We do, and I'm actually going to use a comparison there once we get into the first ability.
Mhm.
Now, to be fair, when I make this comparison, I am going to note that no one likes the Way of the 4 Elements.
Well, I mean,
I like it.
As a fan of Avatar, I like the flavor.
Everyone
that comes
likes
the 4 elements.
Everyone loves the flavor. Nobody likes playing it, is what I was trying to say.
Yeah, the issues definitely with the mechanics, because the consistent issue with the monk is you're starved for key points. Eventually, the encounter stretches or the day stretches, you're going to be starved for key points. What does the Way of 4 Elements do? It drains your key points for spells. That's what, the issue is with a lot of the different monks.
Yeah. To be clear, I have made a Monk of the 4 Elements that I did enjoy a lot, but it took like a day of planning out how I'm going to make it on par with the other players. It was not something I just like, oh, I'm going to play a monk, open hand. Hey, this is all kind of working out because it's a class and it's built to work together. No, I had to like strategize for quite a while before I even started playing that character.
I noticed that a lot of these abilities for the Way of the Ascendant Dragon don't necessarily spend any key.
And that's where we're going to get to next. But we need to actually read the abilities. So, first, Draconic Disciple. You could channel your Draconic Key to imbue your unarmed strikes. Okay, from here we got into the Ascendant Dragon. I'm just going to read the ability itself. So, when you damage a target with an unarmed strike, you could change the damage to any of the elements, including poison. No, excluding thunder, though. So, acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison. If you can't already, you learn to speak, read, and write Draconic. And when you fail an intimidation or persuasion check, you can use your reaction to re-roll. And once you succeed using this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. This, I'm glad they have flavor, but I think they went too far.
It strikes me as very, very handy that you can choose which energy type at will.
Yeah, and to me, that feels too handy, if you ask me. It allows you to exploit damage vulnerabilities in a way that not even the wizard can.
I mean, yeah, you would have to be very, very prepared as a wizard to, even the mighty wizard that's whole purpose is its flexibility and variety of different attacks.
Gosh, I need to make a new video discussing my themes with the wizard.
And I mean, it feels very monkish, for lack of a better word. The whole point of the monk is that by being a monk, even without regard to any specific subclass, the whole monk's shtick is that its quality of life is improved by having a lot of different passive features. Negating fall damage, increasing damage and unarmed strikes here and there in these ways, increasing athletic ability in general. It just becomes kind of a superhero. And this kind of reflects that attitude.
So what I would say... So I do like the idea of having the different damage type, but I think it should have been different damage type. I think it should have been you choose a dragon the way a dragon sorcerer does, and if you choose a lightning dragon, you can do lightning with your fists. If you choose a fire dragon, make a bit of a limitation.
the way a Dragonborn does, and it would make more sense if you learn from a specific dragon. You know,
I
you
learned
wouldn't.
from I learned from a blue dragon. Time to punch enemies with acid.
Or fire, or anything.
Anything other
That
than
doesn't make
lightning.
sense. I was infused with dragon blood, so now I can use all the dragon elements. I don't know. It's a little
Not even the
fishy.
dragons
Yeah.
could use all the dragon elements.
Yeah. He's more than a man. He's more than a dragon. He's unstoppable.
Dragon Man!
Dragon Man.
So,
yeah.
the second one, so I just don't like the if you can't already effect, because this basically encourages you to spend level 1 making sure you don't take Draconic, so that you could gain it with your ability at level 3. I would have liked it, you learn Draconic, if you already had it, you learn a new language of your choice.
Yeah.
Because it's just you lose a feature if you decide to be a Dragonborn, if you decide to already speak the language that will be your character's backstory.
Yeah. And I mean, you can fiddle with, if you know you're going to take this class initially on level 1, you can plan around that, of course,
But the process of playing around means at level 1 and level 2, you have to, not have this as your story. You have to be a monk with no idea who he's going to be. And then just, suddenly, you have a dream with a 5-headed dragonborn. He oversees some magic in a back alley.
Shady magic man appears in the alley. Yeah. Typical typical class backstory.
Yeah, how does if a dragon personally took an active role in shaping your inner energy, why in the world would you not know its language by now?
Yeah. Absolutely. Dragons aren't telepathic. Are they telepathic?
Some of them, I think. I feel like the green dragonborn might be. I have to go check the monster manual.
Ooh, I want a psionics dragon. That would be awesome.
So if you go in 3.5, I think there's a expanded book. There is some that have psionics, the neutral dragons, but we're not going to go into that right now because the reason they don't exist in the lore right now is because we cannot deal with a dragon who has the damage type of force being added to the list. Let's just put it that way.
Got you.
All right.
Okay.
Breath of the Dragon. Here is actually their damage abilities. So, when you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace one of the attacks with an exhalation of draconic energy in either a 20-foot cone or 30-foot line. You choose the damage type. Again, I think this should just be decided when you choose your dragon type. Each creature must make a dexterity saving throw against your key save DC. It deals damage equal to 2 rolls of your martial arts die, or half as much on a success. 11th level, it becomes 3 rolls of your martial arts die. And here is the interesting thing, I want to talk about this first. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest, and only when you have no uses available, you can spend 1 key point to use this feature again.
Wow.
So,
let's just start with that right there.
That's why
the number of times you can use it is your proficiency bonus, and then of course you can use key. I feel like initially, if this was a class, I feel like you would start out having to use key. You know what I mean? As with a lot of the ranged abilities for different monk subclasses, you of course you have to use key to use them. You don't get to use them multiple numbers of times and then use key, to kind of pick it up.
Also, there's an additional strange thing where if you know you're going to have a lot of key right now, and then you're going to get a short rest, and then you're not going to have a lot of key later, you have to spend those. You can't choose to spend your key first and then start using those features, because key recovers on a short rest, and that recovers on a long rest, which is really strange. I definitely think the wording is going to change a bit, but first let's talk about the idea of the new resource of proficiency bonuses. So first off, my general opinion on proficiency bonus is as long as it is tied to a feature that scales with class level, then it's
Mhm.
okay. So like this, the damage output of these dragon breaths scales with your martial arts die, which is whenever you hit a new tier of monk. It then scales again when you hit 11th level. The issue with doing proficiency bonus on other things, you gotta be careful because if a character multi-classes, is this
Yes.
suddenly going to be like, what was it? I think Hexblade's Curse. The Hexblade Warlock, they add
Mhm.
their damage to their, what was it? They add their proficiency bonus to their attack rolls at level 1. And so what happens if you're like 1 level of Hexblade and 11 levels of fighter, that's actually better because now you get 3 attacks and they all add your proficiency bonus.
Yeah.
And then you have action surge on top of that. So it's like, because you basically, my, if I could just explain the Hexblade's problem in one sentence, it's, or in one phrase, it's everything's at level 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the cool thing about locks. Everybody's not sure what they want to do with themselves. The Warlock always knows because his patron doesn't change. And so that naturally comes with, you know, their class working in different ways. And because of that, I know that Warlocks are a popular multi-class option.
All I was
As,
saying was
as opposed
proficiency
to
bonus at
monks.
level 1 was not the right move, especially for something that the scaling is from proficiency bonus. You do not gain
Mm-hmm.
additional uses of the Hexblade's Curse as you level up.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not being defensive, you don't get many new benefits. If you're being
Mm-hmm.
offensive, all the benefits are at level 1.
And with this, it sounds like it sounds like,
It's more
and call
use.
me crazy, but would multi-classing with this subclass of monk maybe be a good idea? If I mean,
So
the way it's worded
here's the
here
thing that
is.
makes it interesting.
Mhm.
So it is, this damage only scales by martial arts die. So even so, what it's doing is it's making sure you can still use that ability consistently, but it's not making that ability any more powerful. Which I appreciate that a lot. I think that's how proficiency bonus should be used. Consistency, not scale. Scale should be based on level. Um, is this a good multi-class? I mean, Monk is always a strange multi-class because you want to keep increasing that martial arts die. So you have
And
to,
those key points, yeah.
yeah. So you want to get, usually if you're multi-classing with Monk, Monk is probably your highest level. But yeah, you could definitely multi-class with this Monk and not have too many issues.
Yes. And you can see maybe why you would want to stay in this class for a while.
Yeah.
From the next feature, because you want to fly.
If nothing else,
This
we'll just
next
state
feature.
that the Monk's last ability for each archetype is at 17th level. And if you're going to 17th level, you probably might as well go to 20th level, unless this is your 20th level feature and you multiclass it early on.
Yeah. You
But
take 3 levels of rogue, I guess.
so let's just really quick. I just want to look at the breath weapon for a little while longer. I want to talk about the scale, excluding the proficiency bonus, like the scale of damage, how it's used. So I want to say a few things. So this only costs 1 key point after you eat through your proficiency bonuses. It is a 20-foot cone instead of a 15-foot cone, well, 30-foot line. I'm guessing this is probably going to switch over to 15-foot cone. Let's go under the assumption that that's going to occur. So if the 15-foot cone, that is mostly comparable to the spell Burning Hands, to which the Way of the Four Elements monk can cast Burning Hands for, I believe, 2 Kai points. I'm trying to find it right now. Fireball, Shatter. Why do I not see Burning Hands here? I thought for certain they could cast Burning Hands. Burning
Maybe
Hands,
the
there it
way
is.
of the.
Sweeping Cinder Strike. Yep, 2 key points for Burning Hands. And then if they want to increase the damage, it is 3 points. Again, this is really... This is weak. This is why that class isn't offered much. But... So... How do I say this? The reason it's so expensive is because the monk's issue is that it has to attack creatures one at a time. Burning Hands, these sort of effects, allows you to AoE.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the monk's issue that a couple subclasses attempt to solve is its lack of AoE, right?
To which I was going to get to the next example of Way of the Sun Soul. So at 6th level, they can spend 2 key points to cast Burning Hands as a bonus action after attacking.
Yeah.
So I'm going to we should probably compare it more to Searing Arc Strike. So this one, it should be Breath of the Dragon, we can basically count as its main effect. This is the thing you get at level 3. This is what's defining your character. It stacks on top of this choosing your damage type, Unarmed Strike. So Breath of the Dragon, we're going to treat as their main feature. So they have the right to make it stronger. I just keep seeing this thing. You can replace one of the attacks. This isn't really eating into your action economy at all. Like, 2 rolls of your martial arts die, that means if they succeed, they're taking about as much damage as if you just hit them with an attack. And you're probably hitting multiple people with this.
I think in certain situations, because again with this you can choose your damage type, and it allows for further it's that flexibility.
Yeah. Again, if I have a belief that by the time this gets released, which we should also ask the question: do we think that do we think that Wizards of the Coast is going to be ready to release these archetypes for Tasha's Cauldron of Envy? Tasha's Cauldron, or do we think we have to wait for another book? That's a tough question.
I don't think it will be in Tasha's Cauldron. It seems like they mostly have that polished up. And if it were going to be in the book, I think that they would
have released
give us another peek of something and say, hey, this is a peek, and not just because I think this is just a UA.
Yeah, that's
a subclass that they're working on.
Also, it's been separated from the others. It releases on November 17th, so they released it on the 26th. That's about 20 days from release, and they haven't had any response back. So yeah.
This strikes me as them communicating that, hey, Tasha's Cauldron's out. It's our big, new shiny new Xanathars for the time being.
Doesn't mean it's our last.
But we're still going to do the UA stuff. Yeah.
And I appreciate the UA when it comes out consistently, so I appreciate this.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I want to take this from the assumption that you don't choose the damage type. You choose a Draconic Origin, and that's your damage type.
I mean, it's tough because, it would specify, and the book is never afraid to specify, you choose this one in the beginning.
I'm not saying
this
that
is the one you choose. Yeah.
I'm just saying that they're going to need to bring down its power soon. When this finally releases, I'm going to state with a confirmation that they're probably going to have to bring down this archetype's power. And the way they can do that while still staying thoroughly in flavor is just saying you choose the dragon archetype.
That's fair. And I'm sure, listeners can debate it out themselves or choose themselves.
Yeah.
Of course, however, whatever they think is fair.
Yeah.
And
I could be wrong. Balance is always such a strange thing. I could be wrong, but I feel confident.
Sure, certainly. And I mean, says right up top, this is play test. Material is presented to spark your imagination. Draft, of course.
Also, one of the things. So, is it okay if I jump into this real fast?
Sure.
One of the things whenever I'm trying to design my own archetypes or races, the way I do it is I shoot for the stars and I allow myself to be dragged back down to the moon. Basically, you go for everything to make the flavor perfect, and then you realize that this is a monster that cannot be allowed, and you start tearing out the things that aren't super important. You make sure it keeps the heart, but you peel away everything that's needed so it could be in line with everything else. That's my idea, usually. And with the UAs, I think they're just doing the same thing. They're getting everyone inspired and then saying, oh yeah, they didn't, like, they wholly love this thing. Oh, they didn't really care about this thing. All right, so I guess we pull that out, start focusing more on this thing. So, give you the whole buffet, then narrow it down to what you're eating today. Anyways, all I was trying to get with that is I think every Unearthed Arcana is going to be overtuned compared to the actual release. That's all I was trying to say. I just went in a very long way.
Gotcha. Yep, it's true. I mean, playtest is always going to, it's being tested. It's going to be under a lot of scrutiny from a lot of different people, and it can be refined that way. So, well, I mean, just thinking about what you said with, based on, I guess, whatever lore implications you want or that makes sense, you pick a dragon type and that determines the damage type. Do you think that, I don't know, I feel like that would almost be in some situations too weak. Like, oh, what's that? You're taking a jaunt through the 9 hell. It's a shame that,
You chose
the only
fire.
damage type you deal is fire,
To be
You want to
fair,
sit
the
it out.
Draconic Sorcerer has a similar issue, and you could still do your normal unarmed strikes. You could just change it to the damage type. So you're still a monk, even if your breath weapon doesn't work. And if we're taking a jaunt through the 9 hells, we probably have gone to the new features. I will definitely agree that the breath weapon becomes a lot worse when you're facing fire elementals and all that stuff. But
Worthless. But then, I mean, with as written, you would just swap to acid or what have you.
acid or cold or anything. Then again, I still think that having full reign of all these damage types, maybe if you can change it during a long rest or during a short rest or something.
Sure. That would be a small way. Because the thing is, like, let's say to make it more difficult for the party, the enemy uh, boasts a variety of different minions that all have different resistances, some to physical, some to different elements. Well, with this guy, there's no problem. He can beat them all because he can just pick in between,
Yep.
he can just pick each attack. Oh, well, I want this attack to be acid. I want this strike to be poison. I want this strike to be fire.
Right, you could
Crap.
change each individual attack. That,
Yeah.
Gosh.
It doesn't even say like per turn. It just
And then, yeah,
it
just
just
one of
says
those
pick
attacks
one.
is a breath weapon.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Definitely one of the most versatile class features, certainly, that I've ever seen.
So I will state that I do. Okay, so I am taking this from the perspective that this is their focus, that this is that the breath weapon is what's making this archetype. So it's allowed to be strong. If you take that assumption, I really like this. Martial arts die is a great balance with how often you can consistently use it. And yes, I do prefer the consistency of use with the weaker power because that, and then like lower action costs. Like I like how this was all designed on that front. The only thing I would say is maybe allow them to spend Kai Point at any time instead of having to spend all the proficiency and then start spending Ki. But yeah, also I should note the importance of it taking your attack action. That means even at level 3, you can breath weapon and then flurry of blows.
Mm.
I think that's an important distinction, and I do enjoy that as making this class very distinct.
All right. You want to move on?
Yes, I think
the 6th level feature.
Yep. I will just state these things never are short with me. It's
Mhm.
yeah. Anyways, so yeah, onto the 6th level feature. So when you use your Step of the Wind feature, you can unfurl spectral draconic wings from your back that vanish at the end of turn. While they exist, you have a flying speed equal to your walking speed. You can use
Wings,
this.
baby.
You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you gain all expend uses when you finish a long rest. If you have no uses available, you can spend one additional Kai point when you activate Step of the Wind to use this feature. So,
proficiency bonus again.
and here's actually a thing. Because this uses Step of the Wind, I actually do not think that is necessary. So, Step of the Wind, keep in mind. Have you played a monk, Nate?
I have not yet personally, though I plan to.
Have you seen a monk be played?
Yes.
How
I have a
often
monk in a campaign I'm running.
How often do they use the Step of the Wind feature instead of Flurry of Blows?
I think my monk forgot about her Step of the Wind feature.
Precisely.
Yeah.
I think this is great. Like, Step of the Wind, first of all, the ability to fly is a draconic theme. It already costs the Kai points. It already is in combat. It's already costing you your bonus action, which is basically as powerful as your action for monks.
Mm-hmm.
I like this. So first of all, I do note I actually really like monks getting reasons to use Patient Defense and Step of the Wind. I've built monks with Patient Defense a lot, and it's fun. It's not the most powerful, but it works and it's fun.
Well, I mean, if you're playing a good subclass, the added ability, and your class has a lot of moving parts, the subclass should work to empower and, by extension, incentivize you to use those pieces. They should have good synergy together, encourage you to use all of your class's features. And I think this is a good way to do it. Hey, this feature, you can do it in any direction now.
And yeah, that's actually one of the issues, that all the classes, to synergize them together, they are all a lot of the best classes are often synergized around constantly using Flurry of Blows.
Yeah.
So I also love this because remember, I'm using this under the argument that Breath of the Dragon is their main feature. The ability to be in melee, use your bonus action to disengage, fly over the top, and then use a cone breath weapon above everyone.
Wow, that's some powerful AoE right there.
It's in flavor. I really like it. And again, this is an attack action, so this is very much possible with Step of the Wind. I like Wings Unfurled a lot. It's strange, because with me saying let's limit the power here, I want to increase the power here.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, monks benefit from being mobile, agile, versatile, and this just it definitely boosts that. There's a lot of mobility with wings.
I will not deny this is a lot of mobility.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like it anyways.
Equal to your walking speed.
Correct.
Now get the what's it called? Is the mobile feat?
Mm-hmm.
It's another
Tabaxi Mobile Dragon.
Oh, that's a speedy boy.
Tis.
Now, and I mean, with the flying up and paired with this cone weapon, you're getting battlefields in choosing the element. You're getting battlefield control comparable to a wizard, but with the monk's health and physical damage to back it up.
Again, why I'm arguing that you should not be able to choose the damage type. Mm-hmm. As we keep going, it makes more sense that you limit the damage type and they make up for it. Also, do keep in mind the damage output. When you get this at level 6, that's 2d6s of damage. The damage output of that breath weapon is really starting to not be impactful anymore. The impactful thing is that you're getting it consistently, not powerfully. And I like that.
Which is the leg up it has over the Dragonborn's inherent breath weapon ability.
Gosh, yeah, dealing with the Dragon's Breath weapon ability is another discussion for another time entirely.
Yeah, we've had multiple discussions.
Gosh, I built a scaling feat. I gotta show you my feat-based Dragonfire Adept. It just, I made it far too complicated. It's not going to work out. I do not suggest using it, but I just want to show you how much work I put into it once. But that's for another day.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Alrighty. So it's pretty straightforward. It's a pretty small little section there. You know, you get wings that vanish at the end of your turn. You got flying speed.
3rd level needs to get weaker. 6th level needs to get stronger. And I think that's a good way of doing it. All right. Aspect of the Worm. It now radiates from... So the power of the Draconic Key now radiates from you, protecting your allies from harm and punishing any who raise arms against them. As a bonus action, you create an aura that radiates 30 feet from you for 1 minute. You choose the damage type, and you gain the following effects. So,
wow.
Let's see. You and all allies have resistance to that damage type. Waves of destructive energy flow out from you when they're attacked. Basically, you and any of your allies can use their reaction to deal damage equal to 1 martial art die. So at this point, it's a D10. So anyone can use their reaction to deal a D10 of fire damage, and they're resistant to fire. Once you use this bonus action, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, or unless you spend 4 Kai points. So the first thing I will note, any damage type where it's good to become resistant to it, it's then not very good to be reacting with the same damage type. Resistance to fire is amazing against fire elementals. Dealing fire damage to fire elementals, though, I
suppose that's a way to balance it too. You know,
it is.
And not every creature that deals that type of damage necessarily resistant or immune to that type of damage, but a lot of the time, definitely.
Yeah. With that being said, I want to note, have you ever heard of the spell Protection from Energy?
I have.
It's a 3rd level spell that targets a single creature and lasts for your concentration. And it does that first ability. Except this one does it for everyone.
A group resistance.
I once again state that, and while I recognize this is going to hurt this ability more than the others, I do think that this is, again, something where you're going to have to choose that one when you choose your Draconic aspect. In return, I would make it worth a lot less than 4 Kai points. Maybe just 2. Maybe even 1.
Mm-hmm.
This does have the issue of this makes your 11th level feature weaker. But again, at 11th level, your Fire Breath has moved all the way up to 3 D10s of damage. And again, that's happening consistently.
Yeah. That's fairly hefty. What it is. And it's, again, if we're meant to take it as written, it's a very versatile elemental attack, which is kind of the real meat and potatoes of its usefulness. Because you could dish out higher damage than your breath weapon at this point, being a monk with flurry of blows and abilities and this and that.
That's the thing. You can do this. You can do your breath weapon with flurry of blows. Remember that.
Yes, that's true.
You do your breath weapon. You then punch them, and then you flurry of blows.
It's like, what's up, boys? You just spit fire at them and start beating them to death. My God. Ugh, this is dangerous. Yeah. This is a cool ability, though. I like resistance. I like the more you help your party, the cooler I think the ability is.
I do agree. I like the party being a party that works together, not a bunch of lone rangers that happen to find strength by having their churns in order.
Yeah. Nobody beats an ancient dragon by themselves. We beat it together. Yeah.
And together does not mean 4 people by themselves at once.
Yes, exactly. It's not, we all have enough HP together that we can just attack it individually until it dies. It should be you all directly empower each other to become stronger than the parts, together necessarily.
Yeah.
You make a
The
greater
sum is great.
whole.
The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Something like
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, and this it's definitely a quality of life change. I personally appreciate the versatility.
I
Not for
do
the
think.
sake of not for the sake of balance necessarily, but I like that you can pick the element for the time being. It's very handy to say the
Yeah.
least,
No.
and resistance is
Yeah.
resistance would be a great boon depending on the situation.
Just that one line, you and your allies gain resistance to the chosen damage type, is the thing that scares me about this ability.
It definitely cements that that's what they were going for, that you can just pick
Yeah.
the damage type freely with this class.
Yeah, I feel like that last ability is just, well, resistance wasn't too important. Let's give you something to make sure it's still useful.
Wow. Reaction. How does that work? Reactions. And they're hit
So it's
by an
just
attack made.
Yeah, it's just whenever you or an ally is attacked, they can use their reaction to deal. Actually, no, this is D8s. This is 3d8s damage. This is 11th level is d8s. So it would deal 1d8 fire damage, or 1d8 lightning damage, or 1d8 poison damage, or whatever.
So it's basically a hellish rebuke, but you choose whatever type of damage
Yeah.
you want.
It has no
On
saving
this
throw,
table.
and it is a lot less damage. I will not deny that.
Wow. Okay. Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
4 key points and a long rest. It would definitely it incentivizes you to use it carefully. You don't want to lose 4 key points. It's kind of a pain.
Yeah.
But of course that's what they meant, I'm sure, by including that feature at the end there. Use it carefully because it is strong.
It is definitely strong. My issue is I'm not sure I want this one ability to be this strong. At the same time, I don't want it to be too weak. If I make it, I feel like if it was personally me, I would weaken this ability to, again, 1 damage type, and then reduce the Kai point cost to like 2. I would make this something you can use consistently. I recognize
And
my
again,
idea is not something everyone wants, and Nate, as you've been saying, you want it like it is. You like the versatility a lot. And I will say, with 11th level, the value of being able to change at like short or long rests or something becomes a lot more important.
and I mean, it's not all encompassing. It's not. It's no.
It's not immunity.
No, like say you're attacked by mind flayers. It's only within 30 feet if you're attacked, and there's nothing against psychic damage. It's the whole ability is kind of useless against illithids, a number of other enemies. So it's cool.
That is fair.
Even with its versatility, every ability is going to be more specific to some situations rather than others.
Well, the thing is, if the ability is specific, I don't want to be this hyper expensive, hyper powerful ability in its situation. I think with the dragon, I'd rather have something that is consistently useful, but not so absurd when it is consistently useful. Do you get what I'm going for?
Sure.
Like, the bomb part could be consistently useful. The top part is just I would like to be situationally powerful, is what I'm getting at. And with you choosing all of those damage types, it makes the situation come up too often, but also makes it too expensive to make up for it. That's my issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be tough to balance this one perfectly, I think.
And yeah, definitely I'm okay. They can work on it. There's definitely time to work on it. So now we get to the Ascendant aspect, the 17th level ability. So, first, these are basically, here's the dragon stuff that we didn't get you yet. So now we're going to give it all to you at once. And 17th level, this is when you do it. So you gain blind sight to 30 feet, which basically makes you see everything except invisible creatures.
Yeah.
Actually, hold up. It allows you to see invisible creatures.
Yeah. Moreover, you can see invisible creatures within that range,
Yep.
unless they successfully hide from.
So yeah, if they're not hidden behind a rock, they are visible.
Shoot, why not just give them true sight at that point?
Blind sight is actually, so it's a thing. Anyways,
Hmm.
so then you have your breath weapon now has energy cling to the target. This is basically when you burn someone, you catch them on fire. They let's see, at the start of each of their turns, they take damage equal to the damage your breath weapon equal to 1 roll of your martial arts, so that's a D10. At the end of its turn, the creature can repeat its save, ending the effect on the success. So I notice when you damage a creature with a breath, I'm going to get to this after I read the third ability. When you activate your aspect of the worm, this huge ability, Draconic Fury explodes from you, and choose any number of basically enemies within that aura, and they take 4d10 damage of that aura's damage type. I'm saying of that aura's damage type because they actually say you could choose, so you can make a fire aura and then blast cold damage. Again, no. I think you have to choose. I think they're going to have to change it to where you just choose your one damage type. Maybe you switch it out on long rests.
Yeah, it generally seemed like a good way to balance these abilities, I think.
Yeah, I think, once they make that change, this entire archetype becomes a lot more viable to put into a book.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so Blind Sight I think is cool. 7th level ability makes sense. Burst of damage when you aspect. Aspect's already expensive. I think that's fine. My issue is this one. So it's when you damage a creature with the Breath of the Dragon. Note that even if they succeed the save, they still take damage.
Yep. Still catch fire, still get freezer burn.
So basically, it changes it from dealing 3 rolls of your martial art die to 4, and then that 4th damage you can't make a saving against it until the end of your turn, and if you fail that one, you take it an additional time. Also, does this mean you can have stacking where one guy's on fire, they fail their save, and then you catch them on fire again?
Wow. When you activate aspect of the worm.
Like, I like the idea, but you need to fail that save. You need to fail that first save, or else I think the scaling becomes a little too much.
No, just take the damage. Take all the damage.
I get your desires, dear Nate. I understand. You're wrong. The power corrupts. Corrupts absolutely.
Unlimited power. So much lightning. So entertained. Yes, this ability, and again with these, with the empowering your abilities, it's definitely what this does. It's very monkish. Monks get cool abilities. That's
I
the
wouldn't
whole
even call
point of
this
being a
monkish.
monk.
This is dragon-esque. And
Oh yeah. But
I
what
get how this can
like,
feel. This is not a barbarian ability. I get what you're saying there.
within the priority perspective of, monks get abilities. This is a dragon monk. You get dragon monkish abilities. Boom.
Yep. Yeah,
you
no.
finally be a blindfold monk. Have blind sight.
To be clear, I like Ascendant aspect. I just think this damage needs a little tweak to where you can save at the beginning and not get scaling fire.
Yeah.
That's it.
You get napalm at this point. It just sticks to you. There's no save against napalm. Woof.
There is, after it's already burned your skin.
Yeah. The damage has been done. Oh, no save against that. That's a trip.
So overall, I do like this archetype a lot. Again, we kind of stated it, that as long as you choose the damage type when you take the archetype, and, maybe change on long rests, maybe if you want to push it, change on short rests, instead of at will, this becomes a really interesting and fun archetype. I think they are pretty close to balanced. So, just to list the things we'd like changed, or at least that I would like changed. Make it so that you gain an additional language instead of just if you can't already. Um, Make it so that you can spend proficiency bonus and Kai points, and you can interchange them at will, since the proficiency bonus recharges at long, where Kai points recharge on short. Rings Unfurled does not need a limitation. Step of the Wind is the limitation. We have disagreements on aspect of the worm. I think it should be limited to that damage type but costs less Kai points. You like the power, and understand with that the cost. And then we both like Ascendant aspect, but I think even you agree that you need to fail the saving throw. You can't just damage the creature. They have to fail the saving throw to get this. I think they even went for that. They said the creature can repeat the save, ending the effect on itself on success, almost as if they failed the save in the first place. Do you agree with my analysis?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have anything you'd like to add to it?
No, I think we covered it pretty sufficiently.
I hope so. We're an hour into this recording, and I think only 10 minutes of it was that discussion about racial classes.
Yeah, we dropped that pretty quick. I was gonna bring up like different abilities for like specific monsters.
How about we bring that back up after we get through Drakewarden?
Okay, because I'm really excited about the Drakewarden.
Yep. All right. Drakewardens are rangers who use their magical connection with nature to form an enduring bond with a minor dragon, a drake. This bond allows the ranger to summon the drake to their side and share in the awe-inspiring power wielded by dragons. Consider how your ranger gained their bond with this drake. The Drakewarden origin table offers some examples. So I will note, I like how these archetypes have these origin tables to kind of get the idea that not just the class or the race or the background has the origin, that the exact archetype has something desiring about like who you are.
Hey kid, want a free dragon? It's budget, but it's still good.
You studied a dragon scale or claw or trinket from its hoard and created your bond through the token's lingering draconic magic. A trinket from its hoard, you thief. A secret order of rangers who collect and guard draconic lore taught you their ways. A true dragon gave you a drake egg to care for. When it hatched, the drake bonded to you. I like this one the most. I haven't read the others, I already like this one the most. You drink a few drops of dragon blood, forever infusing your nature magic with draconic power. An ancient draconic inscription on a standing stone empowered you when you read it out loud. You have a vivid dream of a mysterious man, accompanied by 7 yellow canaries, who warned you of impending doom. When you woke, a drake was there watching you.
Drake is just there.
I like the precision of a man accompanied by 7 yellow canaries. It feels like there's some Forgotten Realms lore that I'm supposed to know.
Is it an inside joke? Like, you always gotta wonder, you know?
So I think, if I remember correctly, this is how Bahamut appears to people, and the 7 yellow canaries are each of the dragons. Wait, doesn't there only 5 dragons? Wait.
5? I mean,
there's 5 metallic dragons, or is there 7?
Sure. Top of my head.
Sure.
Well, from real quick, just before we bring up the guard drake, in what is it? Volo's Guide?
Oh yeah.
Mordenkainen's Tome?
I think it is. Let me check real fast. I guess not real fast. My book's way over here.
Yeah. Well, I have the page itself for the guard drake. It's a reptilian creature created out of dragon scales by a ritual, a bizarre and grisly ritual, apparently. It can be trained. It's obedient, loyal, territorial, making an excellent watch beast that can follow commands. And
by the way, it's Volo's Guides.
Gotcha. And it goes on to say the ritual to create it is devised by Tiamat cultists, blah, blah, blah. Other groups can do it if they're skilled in arcana associated with dragons. And that kind of seems to be...
Cooperation of a dragon is necessary.
Yeah.
Um,
It kind of seems to be what the beginning of the class is kind of, or the background is just kind of brushing over. Like, zippity zap, bippity bop, you get a Drake. From whatever means your character can muster, whether it's, you study the scale real hard, you have a crazy dream, you get the Drake. It bypasses kind of the bizarre ritual aspect of the creature.
by the way, it does state there are 5 dragon types, so Bahamut having 7 yellow canaries, I think it should be 5 from the stories I heard. So, no idea. No idea. Anyways, sorry, I do like... So, this archetype is basically, hey, you want a Gardrick? Yeah! The rules, unfortunately, suck because it doesn't scale. It stays at challenge rating 2. Alright, let's make it part of your archetype. I like the Ranger having these archetypes built around the basically fixed Beastmaster for more exotic beasts.
For the better beast. Drake is awesome.
Yeah, compared to the current Beastmaster, yeah, Drakewarden is a Beastmaster except good.
Mhm.
And I think that's like perfectly within the niche of Ranger. Like, I'm a little. I find that this Monk archetype is a little strange. I do personally have questions about how they justify monks and dragons in unison.
It's
Perhaps
like
I
if
don't know
a
Forgotten.
dragon. It's like if a dragon opened up a dojo.
Yeah, exactly what I'm
Hey
getting
kids,
at.
want to fight crime like me? Come down to the Dragon Bushido Dojo and get magic dragon powers today.
Gosh. Yeah.
Initiates can buy the yellow belt for the low price of $99.99.
Oh my god. Meanwhile, the Drakewarden, like that is built in Volo's guide. This has been part of the world of Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, yeah.
I like this. In other words, when it comes to flavor, I definitely prefer the Ranger. We'll see when we get to archetypes, but generally you're going to find this is what I'd like the Ranger, the Beastmaster, to kind of be based around to an extent.
Okay, let's dig in.
All right. Draconic Gift. So you're bound with it. You're bound with the Drake. It gives you the whole, if you can't already, you learn to speak, read, and write Draconic. So again, I think it should be you learn Draconic. If you already have it, you learn a new language.
Mhm.
You learn the Thaumaturgy cantrip.
Interesting.
It should also be
Why?
noted they don't have a dragon magic feature the way the Gloomstalker has the Gloomstalker magic, or the Horizon Walker has Horizon Walker magic. They just have one cantrip.
I should note that I had a tiefling character who could already speak, read, and write Draconic, and he already inherently knows Thaumaturgy.
Yep.
So it's be kind of wasted for him.
That is an issue to bring up. I think it's fine as long as you note. I think the same way I would if you can already speak Draconic, allow them to learn a new language. If someone already knew Thaumaturgy, I would let them learn a new spell. As long as it's... In that case, I would keep it on the Ranger spell... Wait, the Ranger doesn't have a spell list. Where would I allow it from? Maybe Druid?
I mean, the Ranger has a couple spells specific
They don't
to their class.
They don't... What I'm saying is Rangers don't have Ranger cantrips.
Yeah. No.
I probably allow the Druid cantrip to able then, even though this is technically a cleric spell.
I guess they do now, apparently. I guess Rangers can learn Thaumaturgy if they get a Drake companion.
Yeah. So I will note that they don't have magic. I'm going to have to read through this, and I'm sure I could be convinced one way or another. But I'm going to just make the assumption that there's enough power in this Drake companion feature that they do not need extended magic. That the power from this Drake's companion is enough that you don't need any more.
Okay. I am curious, what's the point of the Thaumaturgy in relation to this subclass?
So let's just look up what does Thaumaturgy do specifically.
It's along with prestidigitation, it's kind of your magic the
I'm
magic
looking
trick
up the
spell.
precise list to see if something seems right for dragons. So let's see. Your voice booms up to 3 times as loud. You cause flames to flicker, brighten, dim, or change color. Cause harmless tremors in the ground. Instantaneous sound that originates from a toy of your choice. Instantaneously cause an unlocked door or window to fly open or slam shut. Alter the appearance of your eyes. So I think it has to do with where prestidigitation is like weird things around you. Thaumaturgy is like you are the presence. Your eyes change. Your voice booms. Harmless tremors around you. You know?
Yeah,
I
and
think that's what they're going for.
it's a sensory audio magic coverall basically,
Yeah.
where the reason it's a cleric thing is because it make or a tiefling thing is because it makes you seem impressive. Basically, it's kind of
It
a
makes you
showman.
seem
Yeah,
impressive. I think
yeah.
that's the distinction that they chose
Yeah.
thaumaturgy for.
A con man could perhaps be tricking, could perhaps trick a group of magically unacquainted, ignorant villagers just by using thaumaturgy. Having the spooky eyes, making lights flicker, windows
I'm pretty
open
sure
and
that's
close.
what in Lord of the Rings how they scare at the very beginning of the movie. Anyways, sorry. Whew.
I don't know. It's a cool cantrip. It's one of
Yeah.
my favorites. It just seems a bit random to just.
I think it's just trying to show that you have this draconic connection. You have draconic presence, and presence is the important feature of thaumaturgy. Prestidigitation is utility. Druidcraft is nature, and so like it has all the like tell the weather for the future and stuff like that. Prestidigitation has cleaning things freely or making sparks fly.
Well,
Thaumaturgy is
yeah.
the presence.
General.
Your eyes glow. Your voice booms. Doors slamming shut. Things shake around you.
Yeah. Another part of it is, it's the physical manifestation. Prestidigitation is minor, harmless visual effects, where what have you. Thaumaturgy is more of a.
Oh, right here. It manifests a minor wonder. And here's the thing: a sign of supernatural power within range. That's what I think is the thing they're going for.
Yeah. Like the tiefling I mentioned earlier naturally gets thaumaturgy, and he chose prestidigitation. Right there, you're just magic man. For the purposes of a street performer, you can make confetti shoot out of your fingers. You announce your voice to a crowd, make the world shake. Yep. You can have 3 effects at a time. It's a very fun cantrip, definitely.
So, let's get to the Drake Companion. All right, are we good?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes.
So, you can magically summon the Drake bound to you. So it's an action. It appears within 30 feet of you. It's friendly to you and obeys your commands. Here's game statistics over here. We'll get to that. Anytime it says PB, that stands for proficiency bonus. I like that denotation of just adding plus PB because that makes it so you don't have to write out proficiency bonus every time.
It's a good abbreviation.
Kind of like how we use DM or GM and stuff like that. When you summon the Drake, choose a damage type listed in its Draconic Essence traits. You can choose traits such as color, scale texture, any visible effect. So it looks cool how you want it. It shares your initiative count, but takes its turn immediately after yours. That's important to note because it takes an action to summon. It can move and use its reaction on its own, but only takes the dodge action on its turn, unless you take a bonus action to command it to take something else. Once you summon the Drake, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a spell slot of first level or higher to summon it. It remains for a number of hours equal to your proficiency bonus, until it's reduced to 0 hit points, or until you use this feature to summon the Drake again. And it leaves anything behind when it vanishes. Alright. So, as we will get into this, I will say I actually think allowing the change in the Drake's damage type is a bit more fair for the Ranger, because not only is it like in the Ranger's nature to know an enemy and try to exploit its weaknesses, but the damage output is much more limited than a person who gets it for every single attack in their flurry of blows, plus a breath weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So
I noticed down there that the Drake companion has better stats than the Guard Drake from the book. It has a number of stats which are just 1 or 2 levels higher than your standard Guard Drake, which is interesting.
Yep. So yeah, let's go through this real fast. So armor class is 14 plus PB. So it's 16, and by the end of the game, it's 20. So it's a pretty solid tank. Except it's limited to 15 health at level when you get it, and it's just 20 health. It's 5 plus 5 times your Ranger level, and it has hit dice, which it clarifies. That's a weird number, but I think it's a good number. We'll get into that later, but yeah, I think 20 health for a companion that's gained hit with the same AoE, but can also somewhat tank for you. I think that's an okay number personally, and then 5 per, it becomes more of a support. As you go on, it becomes more of a support than a damage dealer. Well, at least we're going to get to the later abilities. It does keep scaling. Let's see. It's proficient in dexterity and wisdom saving throws.
Oh, an important thing to note, it's small.
Oh.
Whereas the Guard Drake is a medium dragon, it specifies below the name that it's a small-sized dragon. Interesting.
Yep. And as we'll get later, I think it actually becomes size large by the end of this.
Ah, interesting. So it can serve as a mount later?
Yeah. Level 15th feature.
Nice, that's fair.
Which means it probably grows to medium at a certain point. If I don't see it growing to medium during this scaling, I am going to bring that up. So let's see. The fact that it has a challenge rating is kind of funny.
Yeah.
And it has an immunity based on its draconic essence, which is pretty strong. Again, here's the thing. If this thing... We're going to check this... I'm going to keep an eye on the scaling, but like right now, its bite attack deals 1d6 piercing damage, and then plus like 2 damage of the type determined by the Drake's draconic essence. So it'd be like at final level, it's 1d6 piercing plus 6 acid damage. Oh, it's vulnerable to acid. Like that's not like it definitely applies. It's just it's not as severe as it is with the monk, with every single attack being that damage type.
Yes.
So, and then you can infuse the strikes. Okay. So whenever another creature within 30 feet of the Drake that can see it hits with a weapon attack, it infuses its strike with the essence, causing the attack to deal an extra 1d6 damage of the type determined by its draconic essence. So here's the theme. Once per round, there's an additional d6 of damage of that type. That's basically its damage output for exploiting a vulnerability. Otherwise, if you need to exploit an immunity because of like a fire elemental, only the Drake's companion has the draconic essence, and I have a feeling they're not going to just only target your draconic companion. So far, before we get into the other stuff, I really like this. I think this is pretty well balanced. The damage output, so it is a free bonus action, so this is kind of free damage. Let's see, plus 5 to hit, 1d6 plus 2 here, and then an extra d6 here. So it is pretty strong, but the thing is you have to keep the Drake alive to keep that up, and it's durable, but not immortal.
No.
On that ground of durable but not immortal, I don't like the ability to just expend a first level spell slot to resummon it at full health. That is a theme that I did not like with the Artificer, and I do not like it here, because
that would be a very strong summoning spell for any other class.
Here's the
Where you
thing.
summon this creature for one level.
That's precisely what the Artificer has, and I don't like that. They can repair it to full health with a first level spell slot. And in the same way, 5 plus 5 times your Ranger level, eventually that's like first level spell to gain 100 health.
Mm-hmm.
I would like if even when it's not summoned, you could like use a first level spell slot to cast Cure Wounds, and then I'm okay with this just being a flat companion where you just like a Find Familiar where you could summon it and retract it at will. I'm actually fine with that. Makes it simpler since it's already built on an existing system, and like just make it so you have to heal it or it has to spend its hit dice. It literally has hit dice. Let it heal itself. Basically, I just don't like the additional system of having to keep it around for a limited time, spend spell slots. I prefer, like, if you're going to give it health and you're going to give it hit dice, let it spend the hit dice. Let it manage its health.
Yeah.
Other than that, that is always my issue with a lot of these summoning spells. In the process of trying to simplify it, it adds unnecessary complexities to me, and it makes these complexities things you can easily exploit. Other than that, I love this. Other than that,
Yeah.
I really enjoy this.
Hey, kid, would you rather have a variety of, mediocre to crummy pets, or would you just have the best pet?
One dragon boy.
one scaly boy.
There we are. One scaly boy. All right. Let's get to the later levels. So at these levels, the damage output naturally would fade down. At 7th level, you're getting 2 attacks. It has 40 health. It's now becoming a lot more vulnerable because that 5 health scaling. Keep in mind, it's not applying its constitution into these hit points. It's not applying your constitution either. So these things are becoming a lot more vulnerable and dealing a lot less damage. They're moving away from DPS and more towards utility as we're moving on, unless it scales, which it does. So let's see. 7th level, the bond you share with your Drake intensifies, protecting you and stoking this Drake's fury. While it's summoned, you gain the following benefits. You gain resistance to the damage type chosen for the Drake's Draconic Essence. Now, because you can alter this pretty easily, I'm not so sure. Maybe altering its essence should have been the thing that costs a spell slot. Because using this as like the absorb elements spell while also changing your dragon, I think I like using a first level spell slot to change its essence instead of like you could freely summon it and then use a first level spell slot to change its essence. Because again, this is only single target, so it is like protecting from energy, but even more limited because it's only you. But anyways, sorry, moving on. So you choose, it either gains a swimming speed of 40, it either can breathe underwater and gains a swimming speed, or it grows wings and gains a flying speed.
Interesting.
At this point, it's still size small, by the way. And the last thing, the Drake's Bite deals an extra 1d6 damage of the type of its Draconic Essence. So this now deals 1d6 piercing and 1d6 plus 3 fire, or 1d6 plus 3 cold. Alright, so notice that this does not change the infused strikes. So it still has to get in range and make itself vulnerable. And it still only has 40 health or whatever.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of Pact of the Chain, Orlock. That's, earlier levels, that's kind of what you lean on. It's like, I have this aggressive little guy with cool abilities that can fly at my enemy. And not necessarily tank, although a bit, of course. But,
I'm just checking to make sure, yeah, it stays 40 feet the entire time. Okay.
I mean, the Rangers know frontline. It's not really meant to be a frontliner. It's kind of in this weird spot where it has, and I'm not sure. I think it might have some conflicting abilities.
It does. So the Ranger has the health of the paladin and the fighter, but it doesn't have like any regenerative ability like Lay on Hands or Second Wind. But it does have spells, which Cure Wounds I think is on its spell list. Healing Spirit, which I just think that was... We're just going to ignore that because that was a mistake in balancing, and when they rebalanced it, they just ruined the spell entirely. Anyways, but yeah, generally the Ranger has the durability of like a fighter and a paladin without the additional durability that comes from Second Wind or Lay on Hands. So also it lacks heavy armor. Huh. It's like yeah, I'm thinking Barbarian, Fighter, Paladin. It's like those, but without the things that make them durable, which I guess just makes it not durable.
I mean, it's definitely, with this class, I assume that the focus, this guy, this Drake, is your whole speciality. Your whole class, if you're smart, is going to be focused on support now. Your abilities and your attacks, you're likely, if you're smart, going to pick them with your Drake in mind to empower him, to aid him, and to increase the
I didn't even
overall
think
damage
about like buffing your Drake and letting it go to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, stopping up enemies with, I think, can the Ranger stop up enemies? Do they have any kind of abilities like that? Like the what is it? The vines?
Entangle stuff?
Or make spikes or what have you.
Yeah,
to
I think
control the area.
I'm not sure if they have spike growth. I think they do have entangle. I think they have I know they have like some thorn shots that like it shoots them and then tries to restrain them to the ground. Like yeah, restraining is definitely a theme that they also have like snare and a bunch of trap based items. So yeah, straining them to the ground is definitely within the Ranger's field of expertise.
Oh, now you've got a bruiser to go up and get him while you shoot him.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I do think, yeah, this bruiser will have like 17 AC and 40 health, so it is something that you're going to have to protect in ways. I like that.
You're going to have to work in tandem. It's not just going to be able to kill all your foes. No.
You're not a bruiser and a DPS. I like this. I will say at this point, I'm actually okay if it turns into medium size here. Like if a halfling wants to try riding it, we're 7th level. I have solutions for halflings with CR7. I have solutions for flying. And again, only 40 health. This thing can still be killed, and that's a theme that's going to come up. It should have... Like, I understand when you're able to just expend a 1st level spell slot to recover it, you can't give it much health. I am okay giving it more health, and then saying, again, you have to spend its hit dice to recover health. Like, I would have either it applies its own constitution modifier to all of this, and then the level, or I would allow you to, like, apply one of the Ranger skills, like, maybe the Ranger's wisdom modifier increases this thing's health. It's definitely something to work on, but again, this all comes around to it not being able to regenerate with a 1st level spell slot.
Yep. And if you thought you were going to have to choose between having a scaly pet or scaly powered, you're wrong. Seems on 11th level, you also get dragon power just by proxy.
Alright, so Drake's Breath. As an action, you can exhale a 30-foot cone of damaging breath or cause your Drake to exhale it. You choose a damage type. Again, it should just be the Drake's damage type. Each creature in the cone must make a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC, taking 66s of damage on a failed save, and half as much damage on a successful one. So it's a 30-foot cone, so it's an actual breath weapon. Increases to 8d6 at 5th level, which means it changes to like a fireball. Once you do this, you can't finish a long rest or expend a spell 3rd level or higher. Hey, look, much like a fireball. Cool.
Yeah.
I do like this. Again, I would say it should be the Drake's damage type, But again, as a ranger, they should be able to use a first level spell slot to alter that damage type. So this would be a more manipulatable fireball. As of as an 11th level feature for a utility based class, I would be okay with that.
It's interesting that while you can pick any type of Drake that you want once you summon it magically, the type which you summon has no bearing on this ability necessarily. That when you
Which, if anything annoys me about these archetypes, it's that.
Yeah, when you choose to exhale the breath weapon, that's when you choose the type of damage. So you could have a blue Drake out and it could spit poison.
Aha, your fire Drake does not deal anything with our fire resistant armor. Phrase.
That might be handy to trip up enemy. Oh, he's got this blue Drake. It definitely is going to shoot lightning.
Well,
it's acid.
Well, I prefer of they're preparing for it, and then they see the Drake suddenly shift from a lightning Drake to a fire Drake as you use your spell slot. And so they have a moment to realize, we messed up.
Yep. Dang it. I think that would be... what do you think about this? The ability...
I actually do like it. I like the 3rd level or higher. It basically... This is... So we were talking about how they don't really have spells. Well, okay, we have Thaumaturgy Cantrip. We would have a 1st level spell slot to switch out the... We basically have with Bond of Fane of Scale, we basically have a 1st level spell slot to cast Protection from Energy on yourself through this resistance stuff. And at 11th level, we would have a 3rd level spell slot to cast our own version of Fireball. So in a way, we kind of do have Draconic magic. It's just through archetype features instead of through spells. I like this, actually.
It's very cool. Dragon magic. It's very, it's very... Puts the dragon in Dungeons and Dragons. Definitely. I'm getting a theme for this UA,
Yep. No, that was a very clear theme. Like...
Yes, of course.
Alright. Last ability, Perfected Bond. Your bond with your Drake reaches the pinnacle of its power. Once summoned, you and the Drake gain the following abilities. So first, the Drake grows to large size. Again, I think at 7th level, it should have grown to medium size, because it just went... At 11th level, that was a small Drake using 66 damage on a breath weapon.
Yeah. Little you could use it as a weapon, as a flamethrower.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that's...
You yank the tail and it spits napalm.
Oh my gosh. Alright.
Hey, it's not necessary, because you can spit napalm.
Okay.
Actually.
So its bite attack now deals a total of 3d6 damage, plus the proficiency. So this is like dealing 3d6 plus 5 when you get this, which is devastating. But then again, this is your damage output for this archetype. Compared to the hunter, yeah, this is strong. I'm not going to deny it, but you can kill this thing. Again, whenever I use summons, my argument always comes down from the argument that it can be killed, so you have to protect it.
Yeah.
When you take that argument into play, I am perfectly fine with this damage output.
Yeah. Right. Without this Drake, once it's killed, and you got to revive it.
Yeah. I was going to say during short rests, it can spend its hit dice even if it's at 0 health. That's when it drops to 0, it vanishes and you can summon it again. And during the short rest, it can spend its hit dice even though it's at 0 health. That's what I would do.
Gotcha. And a ranger isn't the castiest caster. It's no wizard.
Half caster.
It can't just
throw cure wounds and good berries and everything. Yeah.
Well, yeah, quality of life ranger spells, but it can't just throw around these slots like a spell slinger.
Precisely.
A level 3 slot is valuable.
Yep.
You really want to avoid using it if possible.
That's why it's good. It's a level 3 spot to get an additional fireball. So now the last ability, when either you or the Drake takes damage while you're within 30 feet of each other, you can use your reaction to give yourself or the Drake resistance to that instance of damage. Honestly, this is a 15th level ability. I'm down to make this one stronger. To make it like the Drake uses its reaction to give you resistance and use your reaction to give the Drake, so that it's like you're actually bonding together.
Interesting. So it's when you're hit by, let's say, a fireball, before you factor in the damage taken, as a reaction, you just say, I'm going to have resistance to this attack. It's basically what it is. Interesting. It definitely adds some tankiness to both you and your creature.
I would have preferred, like, I like the concept. I maybe not make it full resistance, but make it something that you use your reaction to help the creature, and it uses its reaction to help you. Something like maybe instead of resisting damage, you jump in the way of one another.
You can swap positions or something.
Or yeah, just take the damage for the other. Or what's it called? The spell Warding Bond, where each character takes half the damage. Something like that. Maybe if you're doing Warding Bond, you don't give it resistance. Or I mean, you don't make it cost a reaction. Huh.
What do you think as far as balance goes? It does kind of rely on having this creature.
So again, when you can make this huge creature with a first level spell slots, I think it's overpowered because you can just save your spell slots, and this is always the strongest spell. When you're actually having to maintain its health, instead of it's your first level spell slot, and at level 15 gaining like 70 health of damage output, when it's actually you have to maintain the hit dice, you have to keep it healthy, you have to keep this ally alive to gain the benefits. Once you apply that effect, with the first level spell slot being switching the damage types, which again I do like the Ranger having more versatility in damage types than the Monk, because the Ranger is about exploiting an enemy's weakness, marking the beast, and then taking it down using the mark.
Exactly.
When you take those things into account, if you make those changes, then I am already ready to put this in my games. This is a really cool archetype. I really like it. I like the flavor of it a lot more than I like the Monk's flavor. I like the Drake Companion being a lot of what I want to see in a Beastmaster Companion. The Bond of Fane and Scale being something you get late. Like, the fact that the dragon grows up with you is like a huge flavor win. The only thing is they should have become medium-sized either at 7th level or at 11th. I really love this archetype.
Gotcha.
And
I would definitely say I would say, and I think it's obvious, it's been very well thought out, very extensively thought out. You can see the time put into balance to the specific changes to the creature and to the Ranger's abilities. You can see the synergy that all the abilities have when they come together all the way till the end. Yeah.
And by the way, you might say this is a strong archetype. Yes, it's a Ranger. It needs to be a strong archetype.
Yes. It also does not get any subclass specific abilities after level 15.
Yeah,
so
what is it? It gets 4 subclass specific abilities, and they're all at really weird levels. Well, 3rd level makes sense, but then 7th level, you can't put a major power output in the middle of tier 2. 11th level is supposed to be strong, and I've noticed that a lot of Rangers, their 11th level feature isn't as strong as it should be for the start of tier 3. And then 15th level is not 17th level. It's not the beginning of the next feature. That being said, maybe it could be stronger, because the Barbarian's 14th level feature is often very strong. Definitely something to consider.
All right.
Well, with that, I think we said what we needed to say, and
I think we're all good. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this with me.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there's probably more I can say if we want to talk, but we've been talking for an hour and a half now, so.
Yep, it's been a minute.
Yep. Precisely, almost precisely 100 minutes now. Anyways.
And although we kind of covered everything about these new Unearthed Arcana, subclasses, which I'm very happy about. I think that anything else would be an unprepared topic. Even going back to
the racial.
even going back to racial levels.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Also, I
if
do have things I need to do today.
Sure, yeah, I have to go to work in an hour. I don't know if there's enough there.
There probably is, but can stand as its own video that's 10, 20 minutes long, you know?
Oh, yeah. And the shtick is, it would be, you basically, like a feature, it would be a race-specific handful of abilities that you gain, with the... And it is quite a sacrifice to sacrifice a class level, especially for, maybe a specific subclass that's really dependent on leveling up as high as you can.
Would you like to make this its own video and we can talk about it another time?
Definitely. And I'd like to do some more research on maybe some specific creatures here and there, just to flesh out
specific creatures, and then I could show you how 3.5 works, so I can give you some examples of how it worked there.
Okay.
Anyways, any closing statements you'd like to make before we close this up?
Nope. No.
All right.
I'm excited to see what we make of this in the guild once we resume free activities.
I would also like to see what Wizards of the Coast are planning with this. If it's not Natasha's, what are we getting next?
Yeah, always excited to see that.
And how soon? Like, is this just going to be 2 archetypes in some sort of dragon campaign? Or... yeah, who knows? Anyways, thank you for coming, Nate.
Interesting. Certainly, yeah. Maybe it's a clue. They're making a highly dragon focused.
A dragon-focused campaign in Dungeons & Dragons? Who would have thought?
That's never been done before.
Anyways, I hope...
Anyways,
yeah. Thank you
much, Ben. It's been a while since we held a technical meeting, and I most appreciate your attendance, if nobody else is.
I appreciate yours. Yeah, we probably did this a little early for others. Anyways, I hope everyone has a great day, and I hope good things. Well, good things for everyone.